Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to The Proof that Islam is the Truth, where in these episodes we've been discussing some of the amazing scientific miracles of the Qur'an. Information in a book 1,400 years old that every Muslim believes is the uncreated word of Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, revealed for the benefit and the guidance of all of humanity. But it's not just a claim that we make, it's something that we can back up with evidence. And we believe that for any rational human being, any thinking person who takes the time and takes the energy and takes the effort to look at these evidences and examine them dispassionately will come to know that truly Islam is what it claims to be, the religion that has been revealed by God the Creator for the guidance and the benefit of all of mankind. So these are some of the amazing scientific facts, and we're going to move on also to another area that particularly interested me, because when I was at school, one of the subjects that I studied was geography, and a sub-subject of that was, of course, geology. And I do remember when I first read the Qur'an 20 years ago, and it was reading the Qur'an that motivated me to embrace Islam. One of the things that stuck in my head, and I remember it until today, was coming across the descriptions in the Qur'an of mountains. So let's go through some of the things the Qur'an says about mountains. For example, in the 78th surah, in verses 6 to 7, Allah says, "Have we not made the earth an expanse and the mountains stakes?" The word that is used here is awtad. Awtad, meaning stake, is like the peg of the tent. So the peg of the tent goes into the ground. It holds the rope that holds the tent. So you have a small part of the peg sticking up from the ground, but the majority of the peg is inside the ground. The Qur'an also says in the 31st surah, or the 31st chapter, in the 10th verse, "And Allah has cast into the mountains, standing firm, so that it does not shake with you." Now today, with modern sonar technology, they have been able to bounce sound waves down through the Earth's crust. And according to the different rates at which the sound waves are reflected back and are measured, they can tell the different density of the Earth's crust as opposed to what is hard and what is soft, what is from the crust and what is from the magma. And what they have discovered with this technology is exactly what the Qur'an was saying 1,400 years ago, that the mountains have roots. The mountains, like the peg of the tent, not only do they go above the Earth's surface, the mountains go deeply into the Earth's core. And they act, it has been theorized, as stabilizers. They help to stabilize the Earth's surface. And there's two ways in which they do that. Number one, because the Earth is composed of tectonic plates. The crust of the Earth is actually made of different plates. And it is the movement of these plates that causes earthquakes. When these plates move against each other, the friction of that movement causes earthquakes. And that's also what they think how continental drift has happened. Originally, they believe all the continents were one continent, and then because of plate tectonics, it moved. But the Qur'an is saying is the mountains act as stabilizers. They help to stabilize the Earth's crust. And this is something that has actually been theorized by modern geologists. There's another way in which the mountains may act as a stabilizing factor, and that is to do with the rotation. Maybe if you try and spin something, you will find that if it is not really spherical, it will start to rotate, and then it will start to wobble out of shape. And it is possible that the mountains actually act as a counterbalance to keep the Earth's rotation smooth. I do stress, of course, that these are theories, but it is very interesting what the Qur'an is saying 1,400 years ago, and that it seems to be preempting the ideas and the knowledge that is being produced by modern day science. Certainly, it is a fact that is established that the mountains have roots. And the Qur'an is saying that the mountains are like awtad, the pegs of a tent. So this is a remarkable scientific fact. It's one I remember sticking in my mind when I first read the Qur'an about 20 years ago. So these are one of the remarkable things. Also, the Qur'an mentions some aspects of animal and plant life. For example, the 16th chapter of the Qur'an is called Surah An-Nahl, which means the surah of the bee. And one of the aspects of the Qur'an in this surah, it is talking about the bee. And it's very interesting that the word that is used in the Qur'an for the bee that flies around gathering honey or gathering the nectar for the honey, it is used in the female form. The gender that it is used is feminine. Although until recently it was believed that the bees were actually soldiers, they were males, and the ruler of the hive was a king. But as it happens, in fact, we know that the bees are indeed female, and they are owned or they are headed by a queen. That's why we say the queen bee. It's also true that the Qur'an mentions that plants have different genders, and the winds are a means of fertilization for the plants. So in the 15th chapter of the Qur'an, in the 22nd verse, it says that we, meaning Allah the Creator, this is the we of nobility. Does not mean there is more than one God, of course. It is we in the sense that royalty uses the term we. It's a sense of honor and nobility. So the royal we, they call it. We sent forth the winds that fesontate. That means that the fertilize things. These are all recently discovered things. Also, we find the Greek philosopher Democritus, who lived from 460 to 361 BC. He advanced the theory that matter was composed of tiny indivisible particles called atoms. And they believed that this was the base upon which all of things were made, and there was nothing smaller than the atom. However, modern science has discovered that atom is in fact divisible, and the atom has been split, and the atom itself is composed of smaller elements. The Qur'an says 1,400 years ago, in the 34th chapter and the 3rd ayah or the 3rd verse, He is aware of an atom's weight in the heavens and on the earth, and even anything smaller than that. Meaning there is something smaller than an atom, and Allah, God, is aware of it, every single thing.